Welcome back to another Travel with John and Barry. In August of 2015, we rented a canal boat on the Erie Canal. Inside this boat, you have a nice-sized kitchen with 3-burner stove and oven, a small RV refrigerator, water, sink, dishes. Off on the right-hand side, we have our dining room table. This is the first bathroom sink in the first bedroom of it. There are 2 bedrooms. And behind us is the bedroom, which we used as a storage area since it was only the 2 of us. We now move to the bow of the boat where we have our sink and a little closet for clothing. And here is the other bed in the front bedroom of the ship with steps going outside to the bow. Here is one of the 2 toilets that are on the ship and a shared shower between the 2 bedrooms. And here, of course, is Captain John sailing the ship. We have started heading up the canal where we will meet the instructor who just showed us this beautiful canal boat we are riding in. He will meet us at Lock 4 and take us through our very first lock. And here we are at Lock 4, and there'll be very little video going through it because he's teaching us how to do it, and we are now leaving the lock. We made our way across Seneca Lake, and we are going to have dinner at Belhurst Castle and Winery. A wonderful dinner, a free marina, and now we are heading back across to the marina we will be staying at, which is the Seneca Lake State Park and Marina, a very nice park. We had a wonderful time getting the boat in there, and thank goodness we had help from 2 women on shore because we had to pull it between a pile of rocks and a very expensive boat behind us. The next morning, we headed down Lake Seneca towards Watkins Glen. On the way down, I was doing some house shopping at some of the nice houses along the shore. Haven't decided which one. We then pulled into the Samson State Park and Marina, where we made ourselves a little lunch, and then we also went for a little swim till we went back onto the water, because it is a good 7 hours of sailing in our little boat. And we arrived at the village marina in Watkins Glen, where we sat down to a nice little dinner, watched the sunset before heading off to bed to get a good night rest. Today we got up and walked to Watkins Glen. I have not been to Watkins Glen for over 40 years. And on this visit, one thing I did notice, they had a very dry summer. And the water level in Watkins Glen was more or less a trickle at most places, which was rather surprising. After spending another night, the next day we headed up Seneca Lake and back to the Erie Canal to explore more of it. There is a picture of Samson State Park and Marina, which we stopped at on the way down. And I might have found the house to have on the lake. And on our way back, we again stopped at the Belhurst Castle and Winery for a meal and to walk around and explore the grounds a little more this time because we had a little bit more time to do it, because the last time we were here it was going to get dark. And here we have a nice view of Seneca Lake. And there you see our canal boat. Stopped in Seneca Falls for the night, which is where we started our cruise, before heading the opposite way on the canal. We pulled into this marina and made ourselves a little lunch up in the pavilion. And then we started heading back to Lyons, New York, which is the peppermint capital of the world. And it was that up until the 1980s, I believe, when the business was finally sold. After the peppermint tour, we got our bikes and went for a little ride and rode up to the canal, which we would be going through later that day. And here we are headed into the canal, and John is actually at the bow, so it means I'm piloting the ship. And here we go, as we are actually approaching the canal. The locks were a lot of fun because first of all you had to call the lockmaster to get permission to come in. They opened up the gates, you pulled in, and you had to try to grab one of the ropes hanging down along the wall, which are slimy as anything, and you definitely want to have a pair of gloves when doing this. You then catch them, you tie on the bow and the stern, and they either start raising or lowering the water, whichever they need to do for your part of the journey. And of course you can see the water rapidly filling the canal area, I should say the lock area. And trust me, it does not fill this fast. Kindly remember that this is at 8 times speed. And once we get up to the top, we will start heading out of the canal again. And of course, as we head out, there's a bridge right there. And anybody who's ever been on the canal knows, low bridge, everybody down. Low bridge, 'cause we're coming to a town. We wound up turning around and spending the night in Palmyra, which is where the Mormons started. But we would have not been able to make it through the next 2 canals before the second one closed. And there would be no spot to stay in between the canals. So we had to turn around, spend the night in Palmyra, and then head for home. We arrived in Seneca Falls, New York, spent the night, and the next day we unloaded the boat and started driving home. On our way home, we stopped at Taughannock Falls State Park and walked down the trail to see this little trickle of water. Now, there was a mile walk which would take you down below, but with a little bit of water, I decided not to do that. They had a very dry year, so this was very disappointing. But then in 2017, they had a very wet year, and this is what it looked like then.